First-time homebuyers are finally starting to enter the market again in 2026 because prices have dropped a good amount.
My name's Denis with eXp Realty. Today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of should you buy a pre-construction home as a first-time homebuyer or should you get into resale homes as a first-time homebuyer. All right, so everybody knows that to own a home in Toronto or the GTA has become ridiculously expensive. However, it has come down in recent years by just enough where 45% of all sales in 2026 are expected to be by first-time homebuyers. Now, that's not to say that everything is still not pretty expensive. We're looking at a 12.8 times income to price ratio in order to afford a home. So you would need 12 years worth or 13 years worth of your income enable to enable to buy a house in all cash right now. The average price of a home in the GTA is at around $975,000, and that's actually come down about 6.5% since this time last year. Over the last 55 years, the average annual income has only increased by 15%. The average price of a home has increased by over 500%. If you take a look at this chart here, I'm really sorry it's a little bit blurry. Let me zoom in a little bit so you could see it somewhat more clear. You can see here in 2025, we're at 12.8 for price to income. This is after tax, after your take home, and this is adjusted for inflation. But you can see the crazy swing of how high we went. In 2022, it was almost at 18x. You know, back in 1985 over here, we're all the way at only 3.5 times. Imagine being able to buy a house with only 3.5 years worth of your income compared to now. So it is coming down. It's a great sign. Hopefully it continues to come down further, but we are at a point right now where first-time home buyers can enter the market. So quickly, let's just take a look at why new construction homes are as expensive as they are. There's a common misconception here that the price of a pre-construction is just to do with the builder building the actual house, the materials for the house, and purchasing the land for which the house is to be built on. But in reality, 36% of the cost of a new home is actually going to the government. That has to do with the taxes, what they're charging builders, and that gets dropped off onto you guys. So over here on the left, we're going to see different cost components, what they are, and the impact on the price. You've got development charges. These are fees levied by the municipalities for infrastructures. So that's like, you know, the government needs to build roads, transit, get water running into the new neighborhoods. And this can exceed over to $140,000 per unit in some GTA neighborhoods. Then you have land transfer tax. This is paid by you guys to the government, both to the province and to the city of Toronto. And when you're buying or selling a home in Toronto, you pay double land transfer tax. This is usually on average over $36,000 worth. Then you have to pay HST, 13%. You got to pay HST on everything that you buy. There are rebates for this. They do exist. We're going to cover those in detail later on in the video. And then there's the hard costs, obviously. So this is what everyone assumed is the price of the home, labor, materials, stuff like that the builder actually spends. For a higher end home in the GTA, builders are looking at anywhere between $500 and $750 per square foot. But on average, probably closer to around like $450. All right, so now that we know some of the details on pricing and how expensive homes are, let's take a look at the advantages of actually buying a pre-construction home. So we got these rebates that we were just talking about. You could get up to $130,000 back from the government. You fill out a form after you buy your house. You can get up to $130,000 back for homes purchased up to $1 million. This is only for purchases that happened either on or after May 27, 2025. And that's going all the way up until the year 2031 right now. Another advantage here, energy efficiency. All homes built in Ontario must be up to the latest building code. So you have high efficiency windows, insulation, HVAC. This could actually reduce your energy costs on utilities by 20 to 30% versus older homes. And then you have things like customization. You get to choose finishes, layouts, stuff like that. Usually pre-construction homes, you could pick anywhere from like 1 to like 3, 4, maybe different presets of the different styling in your house. You can, however, request that the builder do something more custom. However, you're obviously going to be paying more for that service. Next up is probably the biggest one here. It's Tarion Warranty. Tarion Warranty is a 7-year long warranty, but within the 7 years, you have things that are covered, certain things that are covered for up to 1 year, for up to 2 years, and then the rest for up to 7 years. We're going to get more into that on detail later in the video as well. And then the low initial maintenance, you're assuming because everything is brand new, you're not going to go have to repair your house. And even if you did, that's covered on warranty for up to 7 years, things like the roof and maybe like leaks, water leaks, stuff like that, plumbing, etc. So with all those pros, there's going to be cons. Cons of buying a pre-construction right now. The biggest one probably is the market value risk. Let's say you bought a new condo, especially condos. You bought one in 2022, 2023. You paid X amount of dollars. By now, since the market has gone down significantly, your condo is worth less, but you still have to pay what you originally agreed upon. Okay. Then there's things like construction delays. Delays can happen for like a very long time, years even, and there's nothing you can really do about it. If the delays are so excessive, Tarion will rebate you up to $7,500 worth, but I think there's like up to like 3 delays the builder can impose upon you. And then after that, it starts to get into a legal gray zone. So watch out for that. You have assignment risks. If you were planning on buying a house and then selling your purchase agreement to another buyer, like passing it off, some builders will take a fee from you in order to do so. Some builders just don't allow it at all. And not a lot of assignment sales are succeeding right now, unless you as the original purchaser are taking a hit to pass it along to the next buyer. There's a lot of legal obligations here. Here in Ontario, the courts almost always side with the builder. Keep that in mind. But the builder, if you can't close as the buyer, the builder can sue you, and then they could keep your deposit, and then they could sell your property to the next buyer in line. All right, so knowing that, let's talk about what the advantages are of buying resale. You're looking at established neighborhoods already. You're looking at moving into a house where, let's say, the schools are good. They've been around in that neighborhood for long enough where you could tell if a school is good or bad at this point. You know what's around you. You know the community that you're moving into. You know if there's transits in your neighborhood already. You know if there's big shopping centers already. You're not hoping that a builder comes along and puts those in afterwards. This one's my favorite: proven structural integrity. It's already stood the test of time. If you're buying a house that's already been on alive, or whatever you would say for a house, built for 30 years already, you know it's probably going to last you another 30 years with some general maintenance. Larger lots and more space. Nowadays, with new suburb builds for single family homes, your neighbor could be like 2 to 3 feet away from you, wall to wall. You're looking out your window and you're looking straight into the neighbor's house. Some privacy concerns there. Your backyards are probably smaller with new builds as well. So looking at your own houses for resale, you get to see what the lot size is, and almost always it's going to be bigger than what you're getting on a new build. Immediate possession. You could move in as soon as 2.5 weeks, as long as you and the seller both agree and the lawyers work fast enough. Usually, you're probably looking at a 1-month move-in compared to up to like a 3-4 year move-in for a new construction. And then what you see is what you get. You're going to be touring the property with your agent. You guys are going to be seeing everything. You're going to be doing an inspection as well, so you know what you're getting into. Okay, and real quick, if this information sounds valuable to you as a first-time home buyer, please consider hitting that subscribe button, as it does help my channel grow, and I'll have lots more tips coming out for you guys. So what are the cons of buying resale now? Well, you might be looking at renovations. If you don't like, if a home is in OEM condition from 30 years ago, the styling is outdated. You're probably going to want to put your own touch on it. You got to factor that in. And then any repair costs. A roof could cost you up to 20 grand, 25 grand maybe. A furnace, 5 to 10 grand. Kitchen renos, stuff like that. You're spending up to as much as you want. The good news for things like this, though, is if there is some major problems, you work that into your offer price, right? You get the seller to acknowledge that there is problems and you're going to have to pay for it. So you lower your offer down, and usually it's a reasonable amount. You're going to get that through. So then you could do the repairs yourself later. No warranty is probably the biggest one here. You're not going to get that 7-year Tarion warranty with a resale home. Energy efficiency could be a problem if it's everything is, like I said, OEM, straight from the original builder. That technology is older now. It's not going to be as efficient. You can, however, update all of that, but those are like renovation costs, like we just talked about. The next one here, you don't really see it anymore in today's market, but I included it because it was very common before, and you never know, it could be common again in years to come, and that is bidding wars. If you really like a house, chances are somebody else probably really likes it too, and now you guys are kind of outbidding each other, pushing the price up higher and higher. And then, of course, there's hidden defects. So while, yes, I always recommend you get an inspection, especially if you're a first-time home buyer and everything here is kind of new to you, the inspector is going to go around. He's going to test to make sure everything works. He's going to look for any obvious signs of water damage, leaks, any electrical issues. But what he can't do is go knocking down the walls, tearing apart the drywall and seeing what's behind it. You don't own the house. You're not allowed to do that. So there could be problems that you don't know about. So let's talk a little bit more about probably the primary benefit of buying a new construction, and that's rebates. And there are some rebates for first-time home buyers as well for resale homes, but it's not even close to what you get for new construction. New construction, you're going to get the federal GST rebate and the Ontario GST HST rebate. So that's 100% rebate of the 5% GST and 100% rebate of the 8% HST for homes up to $1 million. So 5% of 1 million is 50,000, 8% is 80,000. Add those two together, you could be saving up to $130,000. And then any homes that are above $1 million, there is a existing Ontario house rebate, max of $24,000 for first-time home buyers purchasing a property over $1.35 million. So who qualifies as a first-time home buyer? Well, obviously you need to be meet these requirements. You need to be at least 18 years old. You need to be a Canadian citizen or have PR status. The home that you're buying needs to be your primary residence, which means that you have to be living in the home. I believe there's like a little bit of a loophole where you have to be living in it for at least 1 year. So you can't just buy a house, rent it out, or flip it. You won't get the rebates then. Ownership history. This one's a bit of a gray area, but you have to not be living in a home, obviously, that you already own with your name on title, or your partner, so your spouse or common law type of thing. If you're living in a house that they own, you're not going to be getting this credit. If you're living with your parents, totally fine. You're a first-time home buyer. You're probably living with your parents at that point. And the last one, you can only do this one time in your entire life. Obviously, you're not going to be a first-time home buyer if you're buying a second home. So going back to those rebates for resale homes, you get rebates on land transfer tax here. So like I said, in Toronto, you pay land transfer tax twice. Don't ask me why, you just do. So you'll get a $4,000 rebate from the provincial side, and then $44,475 from the Toronto side, for a combined total of just under $8,500. And then, of course, this applies to everybody else. You have other benefits if you're using your RRSP home buyers plan, your first-time home savings account, and your first-time home buyers tax credits. So those are the major pros and cons. If you found that information useful, please hit that like button and help push this video to other first-time home buyers. But let's talk about, does newer really mean better these days? There's a ton of people who are saying they're not building houses like they used to. Anecdotally speaking, I do have some friends that recently purchased brand new homes. There are problems. There was water leaks in the basement, stuff to do with their floorboards as well. All this stuff is being covered under their warranty. The builder is coming back to fix it. However, it's a headache. Okay, you just bought a new house. You want to live in it. You don't want to have to go move out again for X amount of weeks while they repair these things, right? And then, so, to counter that with resale, like we talked about earlier, the house has already withstood 30 Canadian winters. Everything is going to be good to go when you get that house yourself. Okay, so let's talk about one of the biggest advantages to buying a new home, and that's the Tarion Home Warranty. It does cover things for up to 7 years, but a lot of people don't know that that is tiered. You have certain things that are covered for up to the first year. Then you have certain things that are covered up to the first 2 years. And then you have the rest of things that are covered up for the remaining years, up to 7 years. So the first year warranty, this covers things like defects in workmanship and materials, any building code violations, any authorized substitution of materials, and obviously fitness for habitation, which means that it actually has to be fit to live in. For your 2-year coverage, you're looking at things like water penetration, water seeping into the basement through the foundation, any exterior cladding issues, and any electrical, plumbing, or heating defects. And then for what's covered up to 7 years, Soil movements causing major cracks. So the house settling, the soil settles underneath it. So any major cracks that happen to the foundation will be covered. Any chemical failures of materials, maybe due to moisture in the house that wasn't caused by you. Any collapse or serious distortion of structural elements, such as the joists in the floors, the pillars, and your roof. All of these things do have a maximum coverage of up to $400,000 for single-family homes and $300,000 for condos. This usually should be enough to cover everything, so I wouldn't worry about too much. If the repairs had to exceed $400,000, that's probably a whole different lawsuit on your hands to sue the builder, because you basically bought a lemon at that point. So now we know what Tarion does cover. Let's talk about things that it does not cover, which is equally as important. Wear and tear, normal wear and tear, things like the paint fading, minor settling of materials, tiny hairline fractures in the foundation. That's completely normal. Anything caused by the homeowner himself or herself, any property damage or injury resulting from a covered defect, any appliances that don't work, you have to go to the manufacturer for this. Any moisture caused by the homeowner, I don't even know how you would really do this. Let's say, you never open your windows, you never run the HVAC system, and you're running a hot shower 24/7. I don't know. Landscaping issues, if your yard or whatever settles and moves up and down by like up to a feet or so, that's normal. That's just the earth settling. That's not covered. Pests. This is something that seems a little odd, but if pests get into your house after you've moved in, rats decided to make a family in the basement, or termites or something like that, that's not covered under warranty. Any acts of God. So an act of God is considered something that isn't controlled by mankind. Let's say a tornado comes in, sweeps through the entire neighborhood. That's not covered. However, there are home insurance programs that do cover those sort of things, so look into those. And then accepted defects. So after your house is complete, before you sign that paper, make sure you go in there, check everything out, put little sticky notes on things that need to be fixed before you're accepting ownership of the house. Because once it's accepted, anything that's a material defect from that point on was considered okay by you since you signed the papers. Okay, so let's talk about maybe who pre-construction is for and who resale is for. So new construction might be right for you if you can fully leverage the $130,000 in rebates. That's awesome. That's a huge chunk of money. Go for it. If you prioritize modern amenities and you don't want to do the work in an older home, if you prioritize high efficiency, greener homes, you probably want something more modern. If you have a flexible timeline of when you can move in and delays don't bother you so much if they do pop up. And if you're financially prepared for a market downturn like we're in right now at closing time. Resale may be better for you if you value, established neighborhoods, you know the area that you want to move into. So you're choosing a resale home so you get into it right away. You prefer a property that, like I said, has already stood the test of time. You don't have to worry about fixing things that pop up for a new home. If you have a sufficient budget for immediate renovations that you need to do, and you have a fallback savings account for any future remedies that might pop up. And let's say you require a firm closing date. You need to move into your new house by X amount of time to meet this deadline that you have. Go for resale because you know exactly when you're going to be moving in. As always, I advise my clients, proceed with caution. If you're getting resale, don't waive the inspection, especially in this market. Always get your inspection done. Cover yourself as best as you can. And if you're buying pre-construction, hire a good lawyer. They'll go over the exact contract with you and make sure there's no funny business taking place. And if you are a first-time home buyer and you're looking for somebody to help guide you along this process, my name is Denis Soldo. I'm with eXp Realty. I've helped many first-time home buyers. All of them have been extremely happy so far. I plan to keep that track record going. My email and my phone number will be down in the description below. Shoot me a text, call, email, whatever you want to do. And let's work out the perfect game plan for you. And if you can, hit that like, smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.